Hello, everyone. I pray you're doing well today. Our reading today was John chapter 17, and I chose these chapters over the next 4 days, the 17, 18, 19, and 20, because, you know, we can read a whole chapter in Holy Week, and this is only 26 verses in this chapter, but I'm not going to read the whole chapter for the sake of the video. I'm just going to kind of go through and outline this, but this is Jesus's great high priestly prayer in John 17, and when he is in the garden about to be betrayed into the hands of his accusers, and the night before he is tried and sent to the cross. And so if you took the time, hopefully you did, to go through this passage today and read these words, Jesus begins this prayer and prays, "The hour is come, glorify thy Son, that thy Son also may glorify thee." And then he goes on to say, "And this is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom thou hast sent. I have glorified thee on the earth. I have finished the work which thou gavest me to do." So Jesus begins by addressing the Father and asks for strength and the glory of God so that the Son can do what he was sent to do, so that Jesus can endure the hardship he's about to endure. And then Jesus goes on in the second section to pray for his apostles, pray for the 12 minus Judas, so the disciples, the 11 disciples. He prays for them that they would have strength at this critical moment, and that they would be strengthened by God to do the work that he has called them to do after he is gone. And then in verse 20, Jesus turns and not only prays for the disciples, the apostles, but he prays for me and you. He prays for everybody. He prays for all them also which shall believe on me through their word. So he prays for everyone that will believe on him because of what the apostles taught and preached about him. And he asks several things here for these people, and I'm going to talk about this in depth in Bible study tonight some, but he prays that they all may be one, as thou, Father, art in me and I in thee, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. It's an incredible thing to pray for. And over in this prayer from Jesus, you're going to see him say this over and over here in this last section. He is praying that the believers would be one. And how? What is this unity of the believers that he's talking about? He says, "As thou, Father, art in me and I in thee, that they also may be one in us." He goes on to say in the verses after, just as he and the Father are one. This is the unity that he wants the church to have. And that is quite a high quality of unity. Jesus and the Father, how are they one? They are different persons in the Trinity. They are of the same essence. They are one in essence, but they are three persons. But they're both fully equal, co-equal, co-eternal. And Jesus prays that, so for the same duration of eternity, the church should have that in unity. And the church should also be one in essence, but we should be one. Jesus does nothing without the Father. Jesus doesn't do anything but what he sees the Father do. He doesn't say anything but what he hears the Father speak to him and tell him to say. Jesus and the Father speak the same thing. Jesus and the Father have the same mind and the same judgment. They have the same desires and the same will directed out to the world. They have a unity in their mind, judgment, and will. And that is the quality or the type of unity that Jesus expects, or Jesus is pouring out his heart to God for the church to have. And this is a crazy thought, because we look around today at the church, and we typically think of the one church as Jesus is talking about here, and we say this oneness, it's like an invisible oneness, and it's all these different churches, and yeah, they say different things and they believe different things about God, but they don't believe different essential things about God, and so that's how they have oneness. But who gets to decide what is essential? I used to be a Calvinist, and when I say that, I mean I used to hold to the 5 points of Calvinism described in the TULIP acronym, and one of those is called limited atonement. And I believe the Bible taught this. I don't believe it that way anymore, and that's a very long story. I've talked about it some, but I did very passionately believe that. But limited atonement means they believe that Jesus did not die for everyone. Ultimately, that Jesus does not have salvific love toward everyone. Most Calvinists will stop short of saying Jesus does not love everyone, but they will have to admit they do not believe Jesus has salvific love for everyone, that God does not actually desire that all human beings that have ever been created will be saved. If God had have wanted them, he would have picked them, but God did not pick them. This is the mindset in Calvinism. And you have a God, in John Calvin's Institutes on the Christian Religion, he quoted almost every verse in the Bible at some point, but he never quoted the 2 verses that teach us that God is love. I wonder why. It's because, bottom line, their God does not love everyone. Now, as Free Will Baptists, our entire denomination's point of existence is to basically not be Calvinist, if you go back and trace the history out of it, and standing up for the belief that God does love everyone, and that God does want every human being to be saved, and did make a way for that. This is not a simple disagreement. This is not a non-essential. We're talking about 2 different, massive, important attributes of the God that we worship. The unity that Jesus is describing here, as he and the Father are one, is not being fulfilled in 2 different churches that disagree about that. We have a serious issue, and we pretend, no, we're just one church anyway. That is not the kind of unity that Jesus is talking about. And here's another evidence. Because in our invisible church model, there's one invisible church. Well, Jesus here describes a unity that is visible, because he closes the verse by saying that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. This is a unity that Jesus is praying for, that the church will have, that the world, the unsaved, the lost, can look at and say, wow. It's a visible miracle. It's something the world can look at and say, how in the world did they have that unity? That's only something God could do. And it pushes them to believe in him. This is why he wants us to have that oneness, that unity, is so that the world may believe. Because this unity is one of the ways that he is to witness to the world. And we look around today and we have 40,000 Protestant denominations. I've seen one study show 40,000. 40,000 times people said, I'm going over here because I don't think like you. Paul tells the Corinthian believers in 1 Corinthians 1:10, he beseeches them by the name of the Lord Jesus Christ that they would all speak the same thing. They would have the same mind and the same judgment. And he goes on to point out that they should not have these divisions, because Christ is not divided. To suggest that Christ's body is divided is to believe that Christ is divided. And my point is this today, and I would ask you to reflect on this. Jesus' main prayer request before he goes and dies for you is that the church would be one as he and the Father are one. And that unity would be visible for the church to see it and have to believe in him. And why don't we have that? And maybe, just maybe, we're at a time in the history of the church where we need to really pray about that. And if you see this today, I would encourage you to watch our Bible study at Shady Grove on YouTube or Facebook tonight, because I'm going to go more into depth on this. But this is something that the Lord has been convicting me about for quite a while. And if at any time we should really get serious with Jesus, and we should really ask him what does he want and try to do it, is this week. It's in these days leading up to Good Friday, when he gave his life for us, when he rose from the dead for us, to prove that one day when we go into the ground, we're not going to stay there. I know that was a lot today, but I pray you guys have a very blessed day.